I want to chat with you today about how to structure associate compensation plans. Now let's make some assumptions here. Let's make the assumption that you actually desire an associate and you want to give of your time, your talent, your expertise as a senior doc in order to, pass the baton or do some succession strategy work. Or maybe it's just time that you'd like to create some more leverage and serve humanity at a higher level. Maybe it's a point of leverage in your business where you've grown as far as you can grow at this point on your own and you need another body in there in order to serve humanity. Well, let's make the assumption that you've created the financial structure and you've done the math and you know that it's a good financial move for you, which, if you haven't done this work yet, then you need to get on our website and check out the Associate Doc Decision Maker tool, because it'll run all of the math numbers with you to help you understand whether it's a good move. But if you have decided, you've done the math, you want an associate, then how do you create a compensation plan? Let's face it, gang, compensation models and the lack of fair exchange within them is the number one reason why associate docs don't work in healthcare, particularly in chiropractic. So there are 7 really important considerations I want you to think through when you're creating a compensation plan. And let's run through those together, all right? Number 1, the very first one is it's got to be inspiring to the associate, right? This is where I'm not a big fan of, paying some sort of a flat fee for your associate or some sort of a classic, salary situation. There's no incentive for them to grow. Now, I've also seen some really creative but very strange looking compensation plans that are based upon percentages, which I'm a bigger fan of in principle because it more closely approximates the real world, okay? So percentages are definitely something to strongly consider. I think it's the best way to go, but you've got to make sure that it's an inspiring incentive for the associate, right? How are you going to know? Well, you ask them. And if it inspires them, then they're going to want to, pull hard on the traces. They're going to want to move forward. The second thing you want to consider is you want to keep it simple, smart person, okay? It's got to be simple and easy to understand. I've seen some structures that docs have put together that are so convoluted that, you'd need to have a friggin' accounting degree in order to make it all make sense. So you want it to be simple, easy to understand, and you want to create structure so that it's the stats at the end of the month when the final tallies are going to be done up are done within a set period of time. And I strongly recommend that you have it set up that within 5 business days at the end of the month, you've got it all sorted out and paychecks are being brought forth. The third point I want you to consider is that the associate situation should be as close as possible to what real life would be if they were out on their own, right? So let's face it, in business you've got some fixed expenses, things like rent. Rent doesn't go up, based upon volume. It's rent is set. So commonly, classically, a young doc gets out into practice and, there's actually more expenses than there is revenue in the early months. But as their revenue grows and their fixed expenses don't come up and their variable expenses don't change much, if at all, then that's when you start to get profit margin. The structure of an associate percentage model should be based upon as real life model as possible to approximate what it would be like if they were on their own. Which is why, again, I advocate for a percentage split model as a base piece. All right. Fourth thing I want you to consider is that the percentage base piece should be based upon the overhead of that practice. I hear people say all the time, well, I thought 60-40 splits or 50-50 splits were how it should be. No, you got to customize the split percentage based upon a couple of important factors. The first thing I want you to consider is the overhead of your practice. Industry averages in chiropractic right now are running around 50 to 55%. That's the average overhead. Yours might be 62. It might be 35. You need to figure that out and get that as clear as possible. Easy way to do it, get your last unaudited accounting statements from your accountant, and then just look at the obviously the revenue and then the expenses, do it average over the last couple of years, and then take out all of the expenses that are variable, that aren't really true costs to run the business. You go to a seminar, you stay a couple extra days, you write it off to the business. It's ethical, it's just not a true cost to run the business. You go out for dinner, you take your spouse out with you, you're buying dinner for your friends and stuff. It's not really a business cost. Ethical write-off, not a true cost to run the business. So you go through your profit and loss sheets, your balance sheet, and you take off all of those expenses that aren't true, come up with your true overhead to run the business, and that is the percentage of profit that you're taking home. So let's just say once you've done it, you find out that your overhead's 45%. Obviously your profit margin then is 55%. that 55% would be the ceiling, the topmost percentage that the associate could ever take home. And that's, again, that would be the topmost. We're not talking about what some of the other splits might be. The fifth consideration that I want you to have when you're looking at compensation plans for associates is I want you to be sure that the senior doc's costs to have the associate there are being covered and being covered very quickly, so that at the very least they're at break even. Now, a lot of docs look at me like deer in the headlights of a car when they hear about cost to have an associate there. Isn't it all profit? No! Hell, it's not all profit. My last associate cost me $2,700 a month to have there, right? They were great. They were getting some great mentoring, if I do say so myself, and yet they cost me money. I lost money for the first 9 months that they were with me. Why would I do that? That's bad business. Well, because I was thinking about the end game, okay? So what you want to do is create a scalable percentage that makes sure that you're getting paid back, at least breaking even as quickly as possible. That's why, again, as I said, using my fictional example earlier of your overhead being 45%, your profit margin being 55%, that's the top amount they could take home. Well, in this example, you know, maybe the first split is going to be like a 40-60 split, 60% your way, you know, for the first $5,000 of revenue, so that you're getting that, you know, almost $3,000 a month of cost to have them there covered, you know, very, very, very quickly. So that's an important consideration. The sixth consideration I want you to think about, and this is more so targeted for the senior docs, but make sure that you're getting rewarded. You're actually going to get some profit out of this for the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put in. You're a hot commodity in the chiropractic marketplace. You've been in practice more than 10 years. You're in the top 4% of all businesses that started in the G8 nations during the year that you started practice, right? You're a hot commodity. You're an icon. You're a rock star. It's a privilege for these young docs to come and work with you and for you to pass on that knowledge and experience. The mentoring, the guidance, the possible coaching you're going to do for them, you should be compensated. So make sure that the scalability of the percentage is allowing for you to feel like you're being fairly compensated, okay? Now, the final thing that I want you to be thinking about is that this structure, this compensation model is scalable. It evolves. It's a dynamic flowing thing. You look at it in 1-year grids, you set an agreement, you sign it, and that's what you work with. But as you come into renegotiation, it's possible that things may be changing. There may be dynamics of the practice. There might be costs of the practice. The overhead needs to be reevaluated on a regular basis. The experience of the doc, and something we'll talk about in another video sometime, is the possibility to create a junior partner buy-in. But for now, I want to make sure that you're honoring who you are, you're honoring and making a win-win situation, and you'll find the associate relationship can be extremely rewarding for both parties. Part of our Associate Doc Recruiting Program is designed to not only help you figure out the exact financial step-by-step for your particular practice, but it's also designed as a paint-by-numbers kit to take you right from, you know, why you should have an associate, pitfalls to watch for, psychographic demographics, looking at all of the work behind the veil on the contract side of it. I mean, if you went to a lawyer to design some of these contracts that we get templates for, it would cost you thousands of dollars. So if you're in the place to recruit an associate, you really feel like you'd like a paint-by-numbers kit to help you do it properly, so you don't end up with heartache and financial stuff that is just a nightmare for a lot of docs, then I want you to go to www.associatedocrecruiting.com. That's associatedocrecruiting.com, and check it out. It's a very affordable program. It's designed to help do it right. And the reason that I'd set this program up, it used to only be work that I did with my private consulting clients who paid substantially more than the program, the Paint by Numbers kit that I've designed. It's a 14-step process. It's all inclusive. It's very affordable. And I would really encourage you to go and have a look if you're at the stage of your career where you'd really like to get into associate. All right, so don't forget, this is Dr. Tom challenging you to be more so you can do more and have more of what your authentic heart desires.